If you don't know, now you know. Now you're more in the know with yours truly, Josh Morin. What is popping, everybody? I'm rocking my Silver State Wrestling shirt. Shout out to Jay Knows, Josh Nolan, in Reno, Nevada. And of course, some new swag from Trials and Tribulations. I told you guys I'd be rocking some new hats. Check them out, Trials and Tribulations Clothing on Instagram, trialsandtribulations.com. Woo, baby, we are back for another podcast, and I'm excited to be delivering today's content. The topic for today is finding your purpose. I hear a lot of times, man, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in life. How do you find your purpose? How do you be and stay inspired? First off, I believe that my story is very untraditional, but I feel that in many ways, if people when they're young, right? If you're 18 or 19-year-olds watching this right now, if you're in high school, your senior year, or you're in college, or early years in college, listen up. Or if you're in your mid 20s or late 20s, wherever you're at in life, I feel this message can pertain to you. But for me, once my wrestling career was ended at Arizona State University, I had 4 back surgeries. My wrestling career was ended, and I decided to drop out of college, right? And I had no fucking clue what I was going to do after college. I had no idea because all I do my entire life was go to school, get good grades, get a scholarship. And once I got to college, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna wrestle. I'm gonna become a doctor on the side, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, all I wanted to do was wrestle because once wrestling was gone, I had no purpose. That was my entire identity, my entire life. And most of us, we go through our entire lives, and most of us have some sort of identity, and a select few of us have an identity within the realm of sports and athletics. So if that's you, if you grew up your entire life wrestling and you've been caught up in being the man or being the woman or being the best or being at the top, then life later may seem to be less enticing. You may not have as much purpose because you're no longer driven by being the best. You're no longer receiving the recognition. You're no longer walking the stage or standing on the podium. And that hurts a lot of people and a lot of athletes, especially in the combat world, I see cannot give it up. So they don't have a purpose later in their life because they're always wanting to get that neurochemical high, that high that you receive from winning, from being the best, from competing, and that adrenaline release that you receive from competition, right? So finding your purpose. This is all going to tie into each other. Just bear with me here. Is when finding your purpose, you have to have absolute clarity on your life. For me, it took me around 7 years after I dropped out of school, dropped out of college, to ultimately find my purpose, my clarity, have clarity. Ultimately 5 years, but in that 5 years, I was not in clarity. And when I mean not in clarity, I wasn't sober. I had zero sobriety consciousness. But what I can say about that time in my life is when I was living in Kauai, when I was living out of my shitty Toyota T100 truck, and I had majority of my life that could fit into a backpack, I was happy. I was happy because I didn't know what tomorrow meant, but all I knew was that today was a gift, and I was going to live the most for today. I didn't have a 1-year plan or a 2 or 3-year plan. I didn't have a fucking mortgage. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have even possessions. I didn't have even a bed or a bed frame or a TV or a computer at the time. All I had was my Toyota T100, a backpack full of my clothes, and an eagerness to experience life, and an eagerness to really dive down, to rediscover who I am after years and years of trying to figure out who the fuck I was because I had lost that identity after my wrestling career was over. So I went and traveled. I went and spent time in the mountains. I went and I journeyed into the backwoods of Montana and all over Utah and Arizona and Oregon and Washington, and I experienced life in a way that I felt was necessary to discover and rediscover who I am at my core, my truth, right? And to me, it took me 5 years of this. It took me 5 years of travel. It took me 5 years of living off of couches, of being a broke dick. But ultimately, during this time, even though I wasn't sober in terms of consciousness, I did feel that within myself, as I look back, I can take away many great things from this moment of my life, is that I never I never fell into the status quo of doing something that I didn't want to do just for the sake of doing it. And I feel most of us do things that we don't want to do just because it's what our mom wants us to do. It's what our parents want us to do. It's what society wants us to do. That doesn't have to be your story. Now, having a job and having a means to an end to be able to pay for the trip, that's okay. That's absolutely fine. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what do you really want to do in your life? How do you find purpose? When you have purpose, you can wake up in the morning. It's easy. It's effort. You can deliver on command. You're in the flow, and you're able to articulate yourself in a way that is in alignment with who you are because you're completely channeling information from source, and you're delivering on command. It's easily and effortless. It's easy and it's effortless, and it's something that you don't have to think about. And to get into this being state, this state of flow, this down the water state, the state where you can climb Yosemite and climb these rocks like Alex Honnold does. Like, these guys are in absolute flow. Or when you see a baseball pitcher throw a no-hitter, or you see somebody just go out and absolutely crush it, they are in the flow. And when you're in the flow, you have clarity. And when you're in the flow, you have purpose. So how do you get there? For me, it took me many years of fucking up, of facing adversity, of learning, of near-death experiences, and having a multitude of situations that has really made me dig deep. And as I've had to dig deep, and now I step into sobriety consciousness, sobriety from substances, sobriety from my emotions, I'm now able to be vulnerable and honest and in acceptance, no longer in denial of my past, to begin to be able to separate the events that have shaped the feelings of my past. And as I am able to separate myself and detach myself from my past, I'm able to step into the now. And the now is where clarity happens. Now is where purpose exists. In the now, in today, for today, it's a gift. And right here, right now is where everything exists. So if you want to find purpose, it's not out there. You're not going to go out there to get your purpose. You're not going to go find it over there. It doesn't hide under a fucking rock. Purpose is right here, right now, in a relaxed body when you are at your true self. And to be your true self, to discover who you are at your core, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be rigorously honest with yourself and have the ability to look in the mirror and say, you know what, for exactly what's happened to me up until this point, good and or bad, it has just happened, and I'm changing my dialect. It's not happened to me, it happened. And it's not your mom's fault. It's not your dad's fault. It's not the dog watcher's fault. It's nobody's fault, but it's your responsibility to take charge of your life. You are the chief, the commander, and the captain of your life, and it is now your responsibility as an adult to take charge, to take command, to be committed, to be in a space where you're no longer a victim of your past, to be able to separate yourself from the feelings that no longer serve you, the events, the people, the situations that no longer serve you. Because if you're sick and tired of being fucking sick and tired, if you're just done, if you just had it, if you're ready to finally step into your truth, your power, have clarity and purpose, this is your wake-up call. This is your message. And that's just something I've had to tell myself today's the day to dig fucking deep. Today's the day to dig fucking deep within yourself, to find really what you're made of, to find that character within yourself. Adversity is the first thing in life that builds character. We're all the kings and we're all queens when our kingdom is controlled, when our kingdom is in flow. But we find out the most about ourselves when things start to slip, when something goes wrong. You figure out who you are when you get punched in the face by life. When life punches you in the face, you realize who you are. And at that moment, you have the opportunity to either react or respond. And how you respond is going to determine the outcome that your life takes on, the direction. From that moment on, your life is going to take on a direction from the response that you have to getting punched in the face. And when you get punched in the face in life, it is your duty, your moral obligation to not let that be your deciding factor of where you're going to go. Because if you have the choice to go down to the left or down to the right, what you do from here on out is up to you. And when you take control of your life, when you are the commander, the chief, and the captain of your life, you no longer point the finger and say, I'm not where I want to be because of him or her or anybody. I'm where I want to be because of me. I accept and I take absolute responsibility for exactly where I am today. We've all been through trauma. It's not your parents' fault. It's not your dog's fault. It's not the dog watcher's fault. It's your responsibility. So when you step into a place of responsibility, that allows you to have acceptance. Acceptance is the first step. And as you step into acceptance, that gives you more clarity because no longer are you in denial of your past. You step into an acceptance space and place of the here and the now, and allows you to be able to detach yourself from people, the places, the situations that no longer serve you. And as you do that, it gives you courage. And as you step into courage, it's the very first etheric energy field that allows you to transcend the levels of consciousness and step into your truth, your power. And in courage is when you find your purpose. Because when you're in your purpose, you no longer question, because when you know, you know. You no longer have to justify, explain yourself. You're no longer finding yourself dating weak men or women. You're able to easily and effortlessly let go of situations that are not in alignment with who you are. And when you can stand in a room and no longer be humiliated, that means you are humble. The humble will be exalted. And the humble is not being this great guy, this well-kept man. No, the humble is those who no longer can be humiliated. The humble is those who no longer can be humiliated. And when you can walk in the room of all the people that you have hurt and the people that you've hurt you, and you're no longer in shame of your past, you no longer live in guilt, you no longer live in anger and pride and resentment for these people who rejected you, abandoned you, violated you, and you're able to see the situation for what it is, be able to detach yourself from those events, be here in the now, in your body, cool, calm, relaxed, composed. Guess what, baby? That's where you find clarity. That's where your purpose lies. And when you find your purpose and your clarity, life begins to have an entirely new meaning. And that new meaning is what you make it. The new meaning doesn't have to be to walk the fucking stage. The new meaning doesn't have to have this huge house. The new meaning for me, for example, is just to be fucking me. That's all I have to be is me. I don't have to be a champion of the world. I don't have to be the best. I don't have to be number one. All I have to be today, just for today, is just me. And as you are just today, just yourself, you are enough. You don't have to be anything more than what you are right now, today. You don't have to be the champ. You don't have to be less skinny. You don't have to be more muscular. You don't have to be more smart. All you have to be is just you. And as you are today, you are perfect. You are beautiful. And you have clarity and you have purpose in your life because you are living in your truth. That is today's Mor-In the Know podcast. Please share this information with somebody today. And as always, for the supplements that you see behind me, head to fieldsupplements.com, and we will see you next time.